Today, we are doing trade for and away players, but All-Star edition, all 10 players are All-Stars. And what are we doing with names like Vlad Jr., Jazz Chisholm, and the first-time All-Star, Jacob Mizarowski? All those names and more on today's action-packed episode of Locked On Fantasy Baseball.
You are Locked On Fantasy Baseball, your daily fantasy baseball podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, fantasy baseball fanatics, and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Baseball podcast, brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. As always, we're your number one source of fantasy baseball knowledge, and thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. I'm your host, Dominic Martino, here as always with my brother, my co-host, my partner in crime, Matthew. As you can see if you're watching on YouTube, and if you are watching on YouTube and you haven't already, hit that little bell below. It's going to subscribe to the channel and give you notification every time we drop a new episode. Or if you're listening on the audio side of things, make sure you subscribe. And also, if you're listening on a platform like Apple or Spotify that allows 5-star ratings and reviews, we would truly appreciate it if you do that for us as well. And lastly, and what's most important and what's going to put you over the top in your fantasy baseball league, join Matt and I on the Insiders Track. We're going to offer so much more than we can in these 30-minute episodes on there. And the link is in the bio wherever you're listening or watching, and it's available on any of our social media platforms. And today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. And all right, Matt, we're here. It's the All-Star break. You know, it's time to look at your team and say, hey, what am I doing with my team, right? And there's no better time than to send out a couple of trades. And we got 5 names you need to trade for and trade away on today's episode. So, Matt, why don't you take us on our journey today? Where are we going first?
Wow, I could be a storyteller. This sounds good. All right, we're going to start off with Vladimir Guerrero Jr. of the Toronto Blue Jays has first and third eligibility. And, of course,
don't sound so excited about it, Matt. You know, it's not like it's the All-Star break or anything.
I mean, it's my least favorite time of the year. There's no fantasy baseball. There's no real baseball. There's just a bunch
is sad. All right, I'll give you that. It is very sad. It is. But listen, we're bringing the All-Star energy today, all right? I need some Vlad Jr. All-Star energy out of you, all right? I know you don't got the Phillies hat on today. If you guys are watching on YouTube, no Phillies hat, but Matt, we need some energy, all right? We like Vlad.
I mean, we do. Hence how we're going to trade for him, really. I mean, look, yeah, he's having a little bit of a slow month and a down month, if you could call 4 home runs and a month down. But, I mean, he's kind of cooled off from earlier in the season, and that's kind of the key part where we're saying, hey, the pace he was started off with and kind of showing off really isn't much better than last year, which last year was fantastic, but only 30 home run pace. Now, I mean, there's a world and the possibilities where the dude just turns around the second half and says, okay, cool, I'm just going to hit another 30 bombs, and here we are. I mean, how many people are already hit 40 before the All-Star break? Riley. It's one of those things where, like, hey, Vlad has the potential to do it. Now, where am I going with this? Well, essentially, hey, he's a guy I want to acquire on my team, and probably the only time that he's actually going to be acquirable. He's had a really rough 2 weeks. He's on the downward trend in those regards, and it's kind of like the only time that you'll probably be able to pounce all season, especially if the team that owns him is in a rut right now and is facing a loss for the week that could be a make or break it week for them. We are at the halfway point of the season. Playoffs are starting to, creep up on us really fast. So this is the perfect time to try and go out and throw out some offers on Vladimir Guerrero Jr. You're probably going to have to spend 85 to 95%, 95 cents on the dollar, but I'll probably pay it for Vladdy. First base hasn't been absolutely wonderful this year. If you didn't get a top end first baseman at the top of the draft, guys that we were hoping to count on really didn't pan out to the full expectations. So therefore you have a little bit of holes. So Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is definitely worth trying to acquire. Look, there is so many names, but you're actually going to have to give up a stud in order to do it. So best point of action is trade a guy that's broken out this year. That is that you don't believe is going to have a strong second half. Somebody with an empty portfolio for the first half, and that is the guy I'm going to trade. And I can't give you a name off the bat because depending on the league format, it might be different. So evaluate, and if you have any questions, truly hit us up on the Insider Track. You get a free 2 weeks, so you might as well just check us out on hit us up on there for the 2 weeks you actually have access.
Oh, there you go, man. I like it. There's some more enthusiasm about Vlad. And the biggest thing with Vlad is when you look under the hood, right? And you look at all the underlying stuff, it says Vlad is Vlad. He's even better in some stuff than he did last year. He's not striking out as much. He's not whiffing as much, chasing as much. He's squaring up the ball like a monster. Exit velocities through the roof. Barrels well. Batting average, his expected batting average is 315. Vlad's a career 287 hitter. His batting average right now is 277, 10 points under. 12 home runs puts him on under a 30 home run pace. I just think everything is screaming that Vlad is going to have a monstrous second half here. And then, Matt, you mentioned those last 2 weeks, no homers, 261 batting average, 7 runs, 5 RBIs, 2 steals, and that's over 46 at-bats for Vlad there. So, like I said, it's all arrows pointing up for Vlad. So if you can get him anything under what his cost was on draft day, honestly, I'd pay that, and maybe even a little bit more, but who knows? Not more than his cost on draft day, but I'd like Matt, you see 90 cents on the dollar. Sounds about right for me. If you have to pay that, obviously you start under that. When you're trading, you always want to start a little bit under what you're actually willing to pay, so you can see what you can get away with. But yeah, Matt, great take on Vlad. Let's move on to this next guy. Let's talk about Jazz Chisholm. And this is a tough one, right? Because Jazz been hitting that ball of late. So it's not like you're gonna get him real cheap right now. 4 home runs, 286 batting average, 9 RBIs, 8 runs over the last 2 weeks. So he has been on fire. But you know what? You always say, listen, he's only batting 250, only the 10 steals on the year. He's gonna get hurt, banged up in the second half. I think that's kind of how you sell this one. Love the eligibility for Jazz on Yahoo. It's second, third, and outfield. It's nice Swiss Army knife. So I really think the play is that hopefully the Jazz owner is familiar with Jazz and they just know, listen, hey, this guy is going to get hurt. And listen, I'm just trying to go out there and get him. I'll say this on the flip side of things. We're doing the All-Star edition, Joker's Wild today. I'm not mad if you have Jazz and you want to sell, right? But maximize that value if you have them, right? So this Jazz is one of those guys that I could see both sides of the fences. I could see you wanting to trade him off of your team, which is the side of the fence that I do stand on. I am picking a side, but I'm not mad at you if you're on the other side of the fence and you just say, I know he's going to get hurt. I want to get what I can for him. I'm not mad at that either, but I really do think I think Jazz loves hitting in the stadium. I think the power's up. Listen, I think they're going to let him run a little bit. He's hitting 5th in that lineup. It's going to be great for RBIs. He's got 43 in 65 games. So like I said, I'm going out there and trading for Jazz. But if you want to go out there and sell on him, make sure you can get as much as you can for him because I wouldn't trade him for pennies. I'll be honest.
Yeah. I mean, great take. I mean, he does come at risk. I mean, he's one of those guys that also, what Dom said at the top of, hey, they're scared of injury. Yes, absolutely. It's still a strong reality. There's a chance he misses a whole month. You just got to pray it's not, September. But it's definitely worth it because the upside outweighs the risk. And, risk reward factor, you only miss as many shots as you take. So, and you miss every shot you don't take. So trying to get Jazz is kind of like a thing where it's like, okay, is this going to be the difference maker that makes me win a championship? If yes, then you make the trade. Let's move on though. Let's talk about Hunter Brown of the Houston Astros. I'm gonna sneak him in quick. So look, here's the deal. He's probably untouchable in a lot of leagues. I'm going to be straight. Like if you own him, you're probably not trading him. You're probably thinking we're crazy for even saying, hey, try and trade for him. He's going to cost you an arm and a leg. But there's always that team that's out there that is either, super tilty with his last 2 starts where he's had 2 games where he just got absolutely blown up. And those are the key guys you want to go and target. Or, if that team is kind of on the struggle bus, this is the perfect team to try and acquire, right? If you have a lot of guys that are overperforming, like we're talking about later in the show, with some young talent that, guys that are more on the sexier appeal, those are the guys I'm going to try and throw towards Hunter Brown along with the stud to fill that team's holes, along with, enticing enough for them to feel like they have upside when really they're giving up probably the best player in that trade. How likely do I think you're going to be able to accomplish a Hunter Brown trade? Probably about 20%. But if you can, without overpaying, I will totally do it because he's better than most pitchers in the league. I think he's going to be a top 12 pitcher coming into 2026. And if not, top 6 is really where I'm starting to already project him. So Hunter Brown, I'm going to try because he could be the difference maker for your rotation.
And before I jump in, and I do have some interesting stuff to say here about Hunter Brown, and then we have Brandon Lowe, and then I said, what are we doing with Jacob Mizarowski? Such a great question, and crazy he's already an all-star. But those names and more coming up next.
Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO giving you full visibility and control of your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial control command center. You can track all your accounts, your investments, and spending all in one place so you can stop managing your money and start building wealth. Honestly, look, I knew how much I ordered on food, but when you see the number on an app, you just feel really bad about it. And the only way to cope with it is order another cheeseburger for delivery. And that's exactly what I do. I don't think any of my habits have changed, but hey, it is what it is. But at least I get to see how bad I am at managing it. Also, this is the part that I truly do like about, Monarch Money. Um, Quite honestly, me and my wife manage our money together. And, whenever she says, "Oh, babe, like, can I order this? Or can I get this done? Or can we do this?" Well, babe, why don't you go check Monarch Money? And then you tell me, if the 75 Amazon packages that showed up at our house last week allows you to do that. And then it's like, oh, yeah. So that's kind of the part I really like about this app. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code locked on MLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com. Use the code locked on MLB for half off your first year. And look, you want a little bit more than what we offer in this 30-minute podcast, make sure to join us on the Insider Track. This is the perfect time to get in. It's the second half. Trades are crucial. Trade deadline is coming up not only for the MLB, but for your leagues. You have questions, you're going to want answers. So we got you. Just come on in there. Plus, prospects are going to be getting called up. Those September call-ups make a huge difference for winning a league. So get in on that. And then lastly, if you want to know who to prioritize and really get the most out of your waivers, you're going to want to see who we're prioritizing each and every day. So check us out. Links in the description below. But without further ado, Dom, how you feeling about Hunter Brown trying to acquire him?
Well, I do want to say this to anyone listening. This is the All-Star edition of Trade Forward and Away. So it's really hard to do, talk about trading for All-Star caliber players and not giving up a lot, right? We're talking about guys that are like super acquirable. So we're having fun. It's the All-Star edition. Hunter Brown's last two starts have been, bad for his stakes. For how he's been this year. Honestly, in my opinion, he's been the best pitcher not named Tarek Skubal this season. Really, came into his own this year. Hunter Brown has. So it's going to be a tough acquire. I would go talk to the Hunter Brown owner and see where his head's at. Maybe just say, hey, the last two starts were bad. He's still super young. You can kind of talk it out. But as Matt said, this is a tough trade to make right now. We're trying to have a little fun today. And if you can go out there and get a guy like Hunter Brown on your team, yeah, I'd pay 100 cents on the dollar on what his draft day cost was, of course. But I'm not giving up anything of super significance, underachieving aces, maybe I'd go out and offer those guys. Aaron Nola is not having what is this an even or an odd year? What's Aaron Nola doing this year? Just tell me what year it is. I know if he's doing good or not. I think Nola's the guy who's been underachieving. I'd offer Nola for Hunter Brown or guys of similar caliber that have been underachieving. Maybe throw a bat you picked up off the waiver wire, Kyle Stauer or something like that. See if that gets the Hunter Brown trade done, because I would definitely do something like that. Once again, it's the All-Star episode. It's tough to throw out super acquirable All-Star names. But this next one actually might be a little bit more acquirable, definitely more acquirable than Hunter Brown. Let's talk about Brandon Lowe of those, why did I almost say Toronto Blue Jays? Tampa Bay Rays. Same division, wrong team. But he's on the IL. That's why I think he's acquirable right now. Listen, I don't think it's going to be too bad. A little bit of oblique tightness. The Rays, said that he's going to be back relatively soon, as long as there are no setbacks, fingers crossed. But Brandon Lowe's having a great season, man. 84 games played, 54 runs, 19 homers, 50 RBIs, and 3 steals. Basically, what he used to do back in the day. I love to see it. The batting average is up. The home runs. listen, he can hit 35 home runs. I believe he's almost hit 40 in a season before. So with a guy like this, and he has first and second eligibility on Yahoo. As Matt talked about, first has been really bad this year, and second has been even worse. So I would go out there and see what the Brandon Lowe owner's head's at. Maybe he has another second baseman, and the underlying stuff all looks really good, even for the batting average stuff. He's always been a guy who's going to strike out a lot, so he's not super valuable in points leagues. But in your categories leagues, he chips in a steal every once in a while. I think the power is super legitimate. The batting average, really, it seems to me like he's healthy, or have been fairly healthy for this season for the first time in a while. Hopefully this oblique thing doesn't, hamper him. But I think you go to the Brandon Lowe owner and he'll just be like, yeah, if you're giving me anything of value, pretty much take it, because Brandon Lowe is just a guy who's been very unhealthy throughout his career. And if anybody had any experience with him in the past, you might be like, oh yeah, you know what? I'll take what I can get right now. So I go out there and I try and acquire him, throw him at second base, and you got a lot of power coming out of that position. Matt, I think you're muted.
Better. I'm here. So here's the thing with Lowe. I'm kind of more on the page of kind of like selling him, even with the oblique injury. I don't really want to acquire him. I mean, this is first of many. Maybe this is it. But like, one, you hear oblique. Two, you hear, just his track record of always being hurt. And you're just like, I kind of want no piece of it. I kind of want him off my team. I'm not really trading for him unless my second base is just putrid. But then again, like Marcus Semien has been on a tear, and I'd rather add him than deal with the, unreliability of Brandon Lowe and his phalanges. So for me, he's out. I'm kind of just gonna try to trade him away if I can. This next guy I'm on the fence with. It's Drew Rasmussen of the Tampa Bay Rays. So starting pitcher, kind of a guy that's having a really rough month. 22 innings pitched, two wins, 18 strikeouts, a 4.84 ERA, and a 1.43 WHIP. I mean, it's just been an ugly start after ugly start recently, and that is kind of rough for me. I mean, yes, he has a 2.86 ERA on the season, but ultimately, like, I'm not really loving the output. All right. You also see things where, like, hey, he's only going to about 5 innings deep. He's not really getting the quality starts. He's not really pumping up the things that you'd like. And, a few mistakes in small amounts of innings can be really costly, right? Even if they only give up like that's a 4.5 ERA to 5 ERA, depending on how many innings they allow him to pitch that day. On top of that, I mean, I look at it and I go, okay, yeah, his fastball looks great, but his breaking ball and off-speed pitches a little bit on the rough side. And you look at it, yes, he leans on his fastball pretty much predominantly, but that cutter as well. And yes, they're successful right now. Well, at least his cutter is. His fastball is still getting hit at 273 batting average, but like sinker that he's not really throwing as much, 25%, 202 batting average. He needs to throw that more, but that isn't expecting a batting average of 270. Everything's kind of getting hit except for the curveball and changeup that he barely throws. So right now, I look at him, I go, he's a guy I need to get off my team. So the second he has a good start, I'm actually sending him off. I think that, quite honestly, this is a hyperinflated situation where I think we're about to see him finish with like a 3.85 ERA to 4. And we're just going to need to get him off the team. The name has value. The name has, a picture of consistency that I'd rather have on somebody else's team than my own. So I'm trading him away.
Damn, man! Just as I thought we were in sync, and then the last two we're going the opposite ways. I think it's the Tampa Bay guys. Might be a little Tampa Bay. I love me some Drew Rasmussen, and I think the fact that Tampa had been babying him a little bit, but it was kind of planned. He's coming off the surgery from last year, so they want to limit his inning one ways or another. But Kevin Cash, the Rays manager, came out and said they're going to kind of let him handle a typical workload starters. Typical starter's workload, said that backwards, through his next few turns in the rotation, which is a good sign for a guy like Rasmussen. But this is what I really wanted to say. Rasmussen's been really good pretty much his whole career. Through his last 5 seasons, it's 69 starts, but 106 games overall, 2.82 ERA, 386 innings pitched, 357 strikeouts. And that comes with a 105 whip and a 310 FIP. I just think he's a pretty solid starting pitcher. I think he's going to be good the rest of the way. I think some people might be thrown off by the workload through the last few starts, and they might say, hey, listen, if I could trade this guy with the numbers he has now, I'll do it. But I don't think these numbers are going to be too far off that, the way he goes the rest of the season. Yeah, at the end, they might start to baby him a little bit. But I think he's going to carry you for a little bit, especially once the Rays let him go and do his thing. I think he's going to be more valuable than people realize. But with that being said, we have Jacob Mizarowski to talk about. What are we doing with him? Chris Bubic, Javier Baez, and more coming up next. And all right, get the supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trades, Supply House. Whether you're into plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400-plus top brands, you'll find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person, and I know how valuable that is. You don't want to be stuck talking to those robots on the phone. It's no fun. And for those trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free Trade Master program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage. Now it's your turn. Join the Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use the promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. And once again, you're going to do all of that on supplyhouse.com. And all right, Matt, if it's cool with you, I'm going to keep things pushing because I really want to talk about this next guy. It's my boy, Mr. Big Time, Jacob Mizarowski, and he is an all-star. Listen, man, I honestly think it's for the clicks and the views. He's been very, very good through his first, I think, was it 6 starts, 5 starts, but not worthy of an all-star spot. They said they asked 6 guys. I should have asked 7 because they could have found somebody else. But listen, Jacob Mizarowski, you've been awesome so far. I love him. I have him on all my fantasy teams. He's been great. I just don't think the value gets higher than this. I don't think, and this is just strictly redraft. We're holding him in keeper, dynasty, any format where you can keep this guy going into the next year in the future. You keep him, hold him on your team. But redraft, it doesn't get better. First 5 starts, 4 wins, 2.81 ERA, 0.9 WHIP, 25 innings, 33 strikeouts. And I think Mr. Rasmussen is going to be awesome. I think he's going to be fantastic for the future. And I still think he's going to finish strong. I just don't think the value gets much higher than it is at the moment through the first 5 starts. He's going to go out pitching the All-Star game. He's on the top of everybody's, mind right now with how good he's been. He's a big baseball guy. I just think you go out there and you see what you can get. If you're looking for starting pitching, I'd aim top 30, start there and kind of, see what you can get. Hitting is kind of different. I'd say join us on the Insider Track if you got any specific bats you want to talk about from Mizarowski, but I'd be aiming fairly high there too. Maybe like a 6th round pick, something like that, 5th, 6th round pick, something in there, somewhere around that range for a bat, and kind of just once again work your way and see what you can get. And if you can't get that kind of value, I'm not going to settle for much less because my boy the Miz has been awesome.
Yeah, I mean, Mizarowski honestly has been really solid. I don't even know if I'd move him. I'm going to be honest. It would take a lot to get him off my hands. Because you got to look at it like this, right? Like you got a guy that's pretty much an interesting contributor. The only downside could be the fact that they might want to throw some inning limits in, especially with the All-Star pitching through All-Star break and things like that, where he gets sent down for the month at the end of July to the first or second week of August, and that's the only key part. So depending on who the owner is, right? If you're an owner that needs to make the playoffs, this is a guy I'm trading. If I am a guy sitting in the top 3 slots, I'm holding on because then I want him in September. Now, these are the things you got to kind of factor in. Mizarowski, I think, is an awesome talent, mind-blowing fastball, gets great movement on it, insane velocity, gets guys to chase and whiff a crazy rate. So I'm torn. It would have to be a haul. It really would. It would have to fill a lot of my holes on my team in order for him to come off my team at this point. Another 2 starts, and a great appearance in the All-Star team, and it just pretty much solidifies the fact that he's going to be untouchable for me. So honestly, if you can get him on the cheap, I'm actually trading for him in a lot of ways too. So like, try and see if you can sneak him in a trade and see if the owner actually cares. That's really where I'm at with Mizarowski. But I'm going to move on. I'm going to talk about Chris Bubic of the Kansas City Royals, starting pitcher. So he's an interesting one too. I don't know if I really want to trade him because, yeah, yes, 30 innings last year and now 100 this year, but a prospect that was awesome in college, played 1 year of the minors, forced himself up, was up since age 22, was trying to work his way through some stuff, finally figuring it out. His age 26, 27 seasons is now starting to look like a stud. He is a three-pitch pitcher at the end of the day, the only thing that kind of turns me off, but he has great movement on his pitches. His expected ERA is a 3 when he's posting a 2.48 ERA. The average exit velocity is super, down, and I'm loving all of it. The only way I'm moving him is if I'm going to get a Hunter Brown. Like, he should be in the trade for Hunter Brown. He's a guy you didn't have to pay high draft capital for. He's a guy that, you know what, he goes down tomorrow. It's fine. He's probably one of your top 3 pitchers, but in terms of your team that started off the season to now, he's probably more like your pitcher 5, which is awesome. Now imagine trying to acquire Hunter Brown. Yeah, now Hunter Brown slides in as one of your best pitchers, period. So you could package him with another top end talent to go out and get Brown. That is where I'll be able to do it. If I get the high end player to go and get somebody that I think is going to have longer term success and, has a way higher ceiling and the floor isn't so what's the word I'm looking for? Volatile. Because Bubic could fall out tomorrow and die, but I'll also ride with him because if there's no better option.
I'm not a big Bubic guy. I think he's you trade him while the numbers are still hot. Even his last 6 starts have been atrocious. 33 innings, 12 walks, 34 strikeouts, a 4.86 ERA. It just hasn't looked good of late. I think he's improving. As Matt said, he's been around for a while. He's still fairly young at age 27. Definitely has been improving. I just don't think he's this good. You see the whips already at the 1.16. It's starting to creep up. I think he's going to wind up like a mid-3s ERA, 120 plus whip. The strikeout improvement, I think it's somewhat believable. I think he could stay around that K per 9. Just don't think he's this good. I still think there's a good pitcher in there. I just think if you could capitalize him, like Matt said, go out there and get yourself a Hunter Brown. Honestly, it might sound crazy, but if you could trade Bubic for Mizarowski and a little bit more, I'd do that. I'm not a fan in believing he's what do you say, like a top 25 pitcher so far. I just don't think he ends up in that same spot he's in now. So if you can get the value of the numbers he put up so far, I would definitely go out there and do that. But all right, I think we got time for maybe one more. Who do I want to talk about? Let's do Stephen Kwan, man. Let's do Stephen Kwan on the All-Star team. I'm not, once again, not believing in it, man. I know he's hit a couple of home runs there this year. He's up to 6, but once again, it's in 92 games played, 11 steals, and he hasn't stolen a base since June 25th. And honestly, since June 10th, only 2 steals. He's hitting 285. It's only 32 RBIs and 43 runs. And once again, that's in 92 games played. He's an all-star this year. That's what I could basically say about him. If you need the batting average, yeah, sure, hold on to him. But I'd go out there and trade Stephen Kwan for what I can get, because I just in a points league it makes more sense. A guy Stephen Kwan makes more sense in a points league. Yes, I'd hold on to him there. But in a categories league, a roto league, if you could put Stephen Kwan in a Jazz Chisholm trade, I would do that all day long, because you know what, Jazz Chisholm is going to give you everything but the batting average. You can make that up off the waiver wire, because you know what, Matt is the expert with that. He's got you covered with batting average off the waiver wire if you didn't already know that. But yeah, I'm not a big believer when Stephen Kwan is. I believe what he's doing. I just don't think it's valuable in most fantasy formats, especially any type of roto or category league, because it's empty batting average with 92 games played and barely any counting stats.
Yeah, I mean, there's that, but like, I mean, look, he's not even like he's a 2020 guy. Like, yo, his career high was 21 stolen bases back in 2023. I don't really think he's that valuable for fantasy baseball at all, except for points leagues, because that is where he doesn't put up a negative game script. He's more of like a 1.5 to 2 points a game, and that's pretty solid for that. But ultimately, like, he does nothing for your team in category or head to head leagues. It's just like it's not that special. You know, if anything, the only reason I wouldn't trade him today during the All-Star break is I want to see if he gets moved during the trade deadline to a more aggressive team where then I can capitalize on the, you know, unrealized upside that could possibly be by maybe landing on, landing spots I'm hearing is the Phillies, the Dodgers, San Diego, like lineups where there's actually way more possibilities for, being driven in versus just like pretty much Jose Ramirez. So, you know, that is where then I will really move on the Quan. If you're new to the show, I am not a Quan guy. I think that Quan is blows for fantasy baseball in general. He's a really good baseball player. And that is the difference, right? And not all good baseball players translate into fantasy value. And that is what Stephen Kwan is, a good baseball player. And therefore, I want him nothing and nowhere near my fantasy team. So therefore,
Well
trade
said.
him.
Well said.
Yeah. So trade him as fast as you can. Like, not even like walking on coals, sprint across that crap and just like get away from him. But anyway, I'm done. Please like, subscribe, comment, rate, review, do everything you can to share this show because we truly love bringing it to you each and every day. And I promise I'll bring the haterade each and every day as well. And if you want a little bit more than what we offer on the 30-minute podcast, check us out on the Insider Track where you'll truly have the key to success. When you're done, check out our boy Stoli over at Locked On MLB, putting out great real MLB coverage. With that being said, guys, have a great rest of your day. Peace.
So